All right, welcome to the build. So it's moving quickly.
And their product velocity is intense. We're both pretty involved in the LangChain community.
This is going to be an industry, like the whole thing is going to explode.
The hype cycle, it's like just because you hear everybody start talking about these things doesn't necessarily mean it's the right.
Need to go back, find out more because it's really interesting.
We're both obsessed with AI and their entire stack is just pivoted to agents.
The next question that usually comes after that is like, well, I'm fine-tuning an open model.
That's the biggest thing with the latest spec.
It's an exploding distribution vector.
I'm really excited. I think everybody is. I'm not the only one.
The build. Tom, good morning, afternoon. How you doing?
Sorry, man. I was fucking asleep.
No worries. No worries.
Coming back from the great state of Texas.
Yeah. Quick trip. How'd it go?
Good. Yeah, it was good. Caught some people, had some brisket. Every time I go there, I want to have brisket.
Yeah, I know. I stopped eating barbecue and all the stuff that out-of-towners like. It's like someone comes, you want to go to Terry Black's? Like, oh, sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Like total first world problems.
That's very funny. In the meantime, I was setting up this Firecrawl agent thing. It's pretty fun. Looks cool. We'll give it a try. So yeah, ready to go with that. Just pulling up the run sheet. How's your DGX? Loving every minute.
Good. Yeah, good. I ran the OCR, the Deepseek OCR on it. I've been using it with Olama, and there's so much more. I started looking at the fine-tuning stuff, and I just didn't get to it. So the running Deepseek OCR was kind of a pain. Like it took a while, or Claude took a while. I didn't.
Yeah, Claude had some problems.
Yeah, but I followed along with Simon Willison. He's pretty well known. He put out a blog post about that exactly. Run Deepseek OCR on DGX, and that's what I tried.
And so you managed to make it work.
Yeah, I did. So they used the, what was it called, DocBench eval set or something like that.
Mm.
So just as the first test, I ran the entire data set, which is like 1,600 images. And I don't know if the metrics are correct, but it said it took 13 hours to run. So
I might have to get you to explain that to me. All right. Well, let's get through it. All right. Yep. It was a pretty big week for some news stuff that I want to talk to you about, right? The first one I want to call out is that the Harrison and the LangChain guys finally formally announced their funding round, which is leaked, I think, a couple of weeks back, or almost maybe a month.
Mm-hmm. So 1.25 billion, right?
Yeah, valuation 1.25 billion and they raised 125 million. So congrats to those guys, amazing. So basically they're also, and that's what they're calling the Series B these days, is 125 million.
Yeah.
Love it. From IVP alongside follow-on investment from Sequoia, Benchmark, and Amplify, which is always a really good sign, right? When your plank guys come and follow on, particularly if they're as influential as guys like Sequoia and Benchmark.
Right.
I'm really excited to see what these guys do with that amount of capital, right? Because you and I are very involved, obviously, in the LangChain community, and they're working on their like upgrade to their core packages, which they're calling like LangChain V1. And then they've also released a bunch of features this week, or almost new products, I guess you would say. And for example, there's like an agent for interrogating traces on your agents, which is pretty cool. It's kind of like, which is an area I'm more and more interested in now, which is like how to use agents to give you insights from data that's like real time or like actionable in a short space of time, as opposed to long asynchronous kind of data and analytics kind of agentic solutions. Mm-hmm. Great for logging and tracing, all that sort of stuff. And then they are also launching a agent builder, but we haven't seen it yet. So yeah, congrats to those guys. Do you have anything else on LangChain?
No, but yeah, same. Congrats, and it's always nice to see. Like I said, we've invested a lot of time and different projects to LangChain. I've been a big believer since day one, so I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah. Hopefully we can. Hopefully they put another interrupt on and we can go and catch up with everyone again. I want them to do that. One really cool thing that I saw recently was Google Gemini has released Google Maps for grounding for like Gemini search. The reason why this is really cool is it's basically it's sort of almost like triangulating location queries within Gemini to try and like reduce hallucinations. I'm really excited for it because I work in the sort of built environment tech space. So that's really cool. And it opens up like, I don't know, hundreds of millions of data points for grounding, not just like similar to the way that they released grounding using search, which I thought was really cool. Still haven't seen Gemini 3, but I might share my screen for this one.
Tom, you promised us weeks ago, so
I did,
kind of upset with you.
Look, I would be upset with me most of the time. This is what they basically entered the vibe code space, right? I'm not sure if you saw this new vibe code in AI Studio. So they're coming at like all of the vibers, and everything that I've seen, at least commentary on X, say that it's very, very, very good in terms of what it develops and what it puts out, which makes people people are thinking that it's got Gemini 3 powering it.
Yeah.
So I recommend giving it a crack.
And this is different than Fire Code?
Or
what was it?
Well, they've got quite a few of these actually. So they've got an IDE, like a cloud IDE that they release. I think it's best if you can always catch up with this. I think it's like with Google.
They have Jules.
Yeah.
Right. And then
there's Jules is the agent. Then there is their web use agent. Project IDX is their cloud IDE. AI projects might be this is where they all sit.
Yeah, and they had, was it Fire Studio? Something Fire, because I always mixed it up with like
Firebase. Yeah, here we go. AI experiments. Firebase is like their hosting toolkit with a backend for hosting apps and like simple web apps and stuff. That's where Superbase came from. So like we're a quote open source version of Firebase, even though everybody just uses the hosted version. Where are all these things? Yeah, they have so many of these little experiments in here. They did have like a basic app building tool in here, but they didn't really talk very much about it. Whisk is one of my favorite ones of these they've actually put together.
Yeah, Whisk is cool.
Sparkify videos. Gen AI in Chrome, that's the coolest one, I reckon. Just Gemini in Chrome in general. I can't see it in here, actually. Anyway, this is the app builder. No, Gemini 3. Everyone's saying, it might be powering this. Everyone's so excited for these guys to get back into the race. There we go. Animate your images with VO3 and use Google Maps. All right, here we go. I wonder if I can say take an address, then extract the maps and street, then create a promo reel for that location using video can. I wonder what this means. I'm feeling lucky versus build. Does it ask me some questions? I can add, speech to text. Let's go build it. This is actually something that I thought was really cool. I love it when these guys when you see people release something on X and then they start releasing like features straight away. So they're like, rather than like loading, they're like, all right, can I add more stuff to the app through these little cards? Which I think is pretty cool. So like, while it's building, because it's always taking ages going through thinking. Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. All right, I might come back to that.
And this is similar to like V0, Replit, all those. So when you get done,
Yeah.
you can share it. You can actually share the app, host it.
Vibe SDK, yeah, all of it, the works, yeah. Yeah, cool. Integrated with GitHub. You can save the app. Apparently, they launched it without the ability to save. I think there was some like saving or incremental saving. Yeah, and you can deploy it straight from here. Cool. Let's come back to that. And what else was I going to talk you through? Oh, that's right. So this is a really cool little project I saw, promo project, which we spoke about, where these guys got 10 grand put 10 grand in, what is it, 6 trading accounts. So this is Alpha Arena is a crypto trading platform. So what they did was they basically gave each of these foundation models displayed at the bottom trading instructions in the crypto market. And I don't know, they have a range of the details here. I don't trade crypto, so I don't actually know the details, but basically they could take long and short positions. They could, lever up using crypto options, all sorts of crazy stuff. And they wanted to see which algorithm was the best trader. And the Chinese algorithms have consistently been better performers than the two Western kind of leading foundation models, right? And ChatGPT continues to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And get worse and worse. Although from a cache perspective, it is, once you're down that far, it's significant. It's very, very hard to catch up. It's kind of like poker, right? Once you're down once the chips are down that far.
Which I figure that's a big part of it, but the discrepancy is so big between, I mean,
like they haven't ever been really above water, like in a net positive position. There's been a bit of flipping around.
The American companies are not training like anything related to crypto. I mean, do you think it would be different if it were not crypto, if it were the regular stock market? I mean, any ideas on why the gap is so large?
Well, I've got it. Like, it's easy to postulate that the reason why DeepSeek has been performing really well is because it was built by a hedge fund, right? This Chinese hedge fund.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So that sort of makes sense. I don't get why Qwen 3 Max would, but maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe Alibaba built it internally for lots of pricing analysis. Who really knows? Maybe it's just better at like dealing with financial data. I really have no idea. But even then, that wouldn't really make any sense because it's not just the data. It's like making the determination, risk analysis, all that stuff. Either way, basically the Chinese models are dominating. All of the Western models are now underwater, and the Western, like Claude Sonnet 4.5 is the one has probably, you would say, of the Western models performed the best, except this. Oh, and actually, no, Grok 4. Grok 4 did until about here, and it made a few trades. What's cool about this is you can actually just see all the positions that it took. So they publish all the individual realized profit and loss positions, and it'd be interesting to see. So DeepSeek has consistently gone long. That's great. Okay. I wonder when that trade was put on. So Qwen 4 Max basically just put a massive 20x leverage position on Bitcoin as one position, right? That's great. I wonder when that was opened with all of its available cash. So it's only got $97 available as in its cash account. I'll zoom in so you can see that. So that is pretty hilarious. Sorry, I can't zoom in much more than that. You can check this out.
It'd be cool if you could see the entire trace and like reasoning, or maybe you can. I didn't see that.
Model chat. Here we go. So,
but okay, does this have all of the behind the scenes?
It looks like this is like a current state where it must be updating. I don't know if these guys published the method for this. I think it's only supposed to run for another couple of weeks as an experiment, or as a promo, really. It's a promotional thing. And this looks like an injection into its context window, like an updated injection into the context around like what's updated and what's new, right? Because it's like, this is all of the data movements on your tradable crypto assets, which they are these ones, right? here is your current account information and performance, blah, 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 blah. This is for, okay. And here's the chain of thought. And it must just be turning this over on a set frequency, right? And saying, what should you do? Open new positions, close existing positions, or hold. And these are all the realized. This is their holdings, realized or unrealized P&L, profit and loss. Sorry, unrealized profit and loss, and the current exit plan for open positions. That's really cool. None of the invalidation. Yeah, okay. So you can go through all of the reasoning traces and check the trading decisions, and then there's a summary. It's like, all right, Quen 3 Max, my portfolio is up almost 47%, but cash is low at $97, and I'm holding my 20x Bitcoin long position with a profit target of $112,000, which is a long way away from where it is now. Oh, sorry, no. Profit target of Bitcoin price at $112,000, which is $2,000 away from where we are today, right? But it's almost about, it's closer to its stop loss position. Cool. This is really interesting. Gemini 2.5. So this is great. It's like reading the nightmares of an options trader. My portfolio was deep in the red with the terrible Sharpe ratio, and I'm practically maxed out on leverage with almost no cash left. I can feel the pain of Gemini 2.5. Mate, we've all been there, don't worry. Oh, that's fun. That's really cool to see. Yeah, so maybe try out for that non-existent options trading bot. Maybe the models that we'll choose are Quen and DeepSeek. And this backs up, I did meet a guy who works for a hedge fund in New York, actually, at the Vercel conference. He said that all of their algorithmic models are custom fine-tuned on top of Quen models as their foundation models. That was his kind of little tidbit.
That to align with their firm's like risk tolerance and general approach.
He didn't. Yeah, he was pretty. That's sort of as much information as he offered up.
Yeah, it's kind of proprietary.
He didn't give me any more information other than that. But they are a hedge fund and they do this kind of thing. Quant algorithmic AI enabled crypto, AI enabled trading, not necessarily crypto specifically. Oh man, I wonder what that statement is hilarious. What does GPT-5 say? My current account value is down. Yeah, there's not a great deal of contrition in ChatGPT's position. It's not like it is what it is. All right, let's move on from that. Do you want to talk about OCR and then maybe pivot into the demos? Because I want to spend time on the demo with you, and then I can pivot if we've got time into this open agent builder kind of demo that I've got. This is not the right DeepSeek.
Yeah, and on the DeepSeek, like I said, I ran it. It was kind of in the background. So what I did was I ran through the eval or doc bench eval set, and I just have the output, and I haven't even had a chance to look at it. So I can just pull that real quick.
Well, yeah, while you're doing that, I might just talk through what it is. Basically,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And then
also the reason why I wanted to mention this is so OCR is basically like, what is OCR? Like object C character recognition. I thought it was, whatever. Character recognition. Basically AI models that can primarily, like the primary use case is processing documents to get your data out. The only reason why we need these things is because Adobe exists and they wanted to wrap up everything on the internet in something that was hard to get data out of called PDFs. But that's another story. Model from DeepSeek was very exciting for a lot of people because it's very small. What's the actual size? Yeah, 3 billion parameter model, and it has an interesting architecture. You can check out all the details on this model card on Hugging Face. But a lot of the people who were commenting on it were saying that the reason why it was exciting is the lossless or very low level of loss within the compression of this model opens up opportunities for dramatically expanding context windows for LLMs, because it effectively converts characters and text into images that can be compressed to a significant degree meaning that you could put like 100,000 pages into, you know, a very small amount of characters that can then be retransferred or converted into something that LLMs and AI models can reasonably consume to understand the context and understand the information. That's why some of the people that I was following on X basically were getting pretty excited. In addition to the practical use case, apparently it's very effective. So you can, you know, it's performance on OmniDoc Bench and what's this other eval you'll take us through. So that's why I thought it might be worth chatting about. And then you managed to get it kind of up and running, right? I'll stop sharing my screen.
I finally got it running. So like I said, I followed a blog post from Simon Willison, and he had a post about running Deepseek OCR on the DGX Spark that just came out. So I did get one of those, and that's about as far as I got. I had Claude just follow the blog post, and it ran for quite a while. So then I also ran the same eval set using just standard Tesseract OCR. And I also ran it with a MCP server that I created called Local Vision. And that one uses Quinn 2.5 VL, I think. So I just wanted to compare the outputs to start.
What was the other model?
Quinn 2.5 VL, I believe. So that's a vision model, and I think I was running the 72B.
Wow, so that's
I guess it doesn't really matter because that one, as I'm looking here, it didn't finish. It didn't output. So
oh, and there's a Quinn 3 VL as well. Right, okay. They're much bigger models.
yeah, and that one came out. That's on Olama Turbo. Talk about that quite a bit.
Is there
I had created this
OCR
local.
Sorry, is there an OCR like arena? Have you ever seen an OCR arena where it's like that'd be cool? That'd be interesting.
Remember we talked about DocETL, I think, had something out there. I don't remember the names off the top. But that's what that doc bench, and then the other one that they mentioned in the blog post was Fox, and I downloaded that, but I hadn't had a chance to look at it, so I don't know the difference to Fox OCR. Yeah, it's that one. Focus Anywhere.
Yeah, cool. So you were just running them through on your DGX to see, and doc bench is the primary one, right?
Yeah. So in that doc bench,
is this right?
Yeah, I think so. They have there should be a folder.
Only 50 stars.
Images.
Give that a bit more.
I'm sorry. You run the scripts and then it downloads the files. So
yeah.
I ran that and then just started copying the files. So
229 real documents and 1,102 questions spanning across 5 different subject domains. Okay, so this is like the way that it actually runs across government documents, finance, academia, news, and legal papers. They never annotated that data set. Okay, cool. All right. Well, do you want to open it up?
The problem with the doc bench is most of it is in Chinese. So I was kind of browsing through these. I was like, man, as far as I can tell, it's perfect. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's very funny. I'm keen to also just see how you get this thing up and running, right? So this is the tutorial that you ran through from Simon Willison. This guy's a legend, actually. Although I'm hopeful that his like, what is it, a duck riding a bicycle dummy eval will go away soon. I don't like it.
Hey, I know. It's helpful to have consistency though, but yeah.
It is, yeah. It's like, I just want to stop looking at stupid ducks. But he's a very smart guy and he has a lot of good content. So this blog is awesome. Okay. Yeah, can you show us how it works? Can you even show us the actual device? So you got your DGX little shiny box. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I was trying to find out how many they actually released, but I don't know. I do know it sold out right when I put it in my cart.
You have a lot of nerd cred for even having one. While you're pulling that up, We should probably at least give a mention to OpenAI's browser launch this week.
Oh, right. Yep. Have you been using that?
No, Atlas. Like, it's sort of one of those things where, so I tried Comet, like Perplexity's one, and it was all right. I didn't convert over immediately. But it was like, there was that, and then there was, I think it was the browser company. They had an attempt to convert over to a newer browser. I think it was called DAO or DAO, I believe. I've tried a few of these things. I just can't change my workflow out of Chrome. Like, the fact that Google is building in a bunch of these features into Chrome, like, yeah, this is going to be tough. But I applaud them entering the browser game. And usually browsers are a strategic thing, right? That's all.
For
it's
Google,
always
it certainly was.
Yeah, well, even for like that, the whole reason why like browsers heated up as a battleground early days in the internet as the distribution vector, right? If you remember, like Microsoft and Netscape having it was like an antitrust battle between them, right? That they couldn't, like, they were trying to constrain access via the browser, and then Chrome was effectively like a distribution vector for Google, along with, say, Android, to try and basically direct web traffic to its products in the same way that Safari does for Apple, right? So this is another mechanism. ChatGPT has 800 million daily active users. If they can get into the browser game, they direct traffic into ChatGPT, the experience. In addition, they try and convert what is a typical web browsing kind of behavior set focused on Google and search, which is generally most of the way that a lot of internet traffic starts there, right? And convert it into starting in a chat-based ChatGPT experience. That's generally how I'm viewing the strategic role. In addition, they're trying to say, well, now we're moving into an agentic kind of browsing domain, which may or may not be true. So that's, I guess, why they're doing it. Oops, I'm downloading that twice. But yeah, when I've tried these things, I haven't changed. So we'll see.
Right.
I'm seeing so much mixed messaging on X of like people just going, this is the greatest, everything is changing. And then everyone else going, this is the dumbest thing ever, I'm moving back to Chrome. It's like, oh, it's so much confected extremism. They're just like, I am on this side. I'm like, guys, just try it. If you don't like it, go back to what you use. Stop shouting.
Yeah, well, I had mentioned, or we talked about Anthropic's Claude for Chrome. And at first I was like, well, how will I use this exactly? And in the last couple of weeks, I found myself using it a lot, actually. So, and then I downloaded the GPT one, and it's just a little bit different. And I'm kind of back in that same spot where I'm like, okay, how would I use this? What is different about it than Claude for Chrome? The first thing I could say is they have like MCP integrated into the GPT browser. So that is actually pretty cool. And that's something that I think I mentioned right out of the gate about Anthropic as a limitation. So
the only other release before we get into, maybe you got your screen up if you want to share it. But is Claude. Claude is entering the cloud, like async game to compete against those features of Codex, right? With Claude Code in the cloud.
Oh, that's actually, yes. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for them to enter that game because I think Claude Code, I consistently come back to it every time I try something else, right? I don't know if you're the same, but I'm consistently always going back to it in terms of its like the agentic experience locally. And then now that this can also then do the async stuff up in the cloud and also potentially like do the Git kind of post-push, like merge request or code review or that kind of section that would be embedded in, say, GitHub workflows, like Codex is, which I find super helpful. That's perfect. And apparently, so these guys, These guys are looking like they're about to cross like 7 billion in ARR, Anthropic, which is interesting. When I read that, I'm like, all right, there's a lot of noise around ChatGPT, right? And sorry, OpenAI and ChatGPT. But these guys are just quietly in the background seeming to just capture more and more enterprise share and more like real revenue. And they don't, I like the strategy more, probably because I'm more of a B2B kind of like SaaS or software person. But it seems like they're just like, all right, we're just going to seed the ground on the consumer space and just go as hard as possible into the viable economic use cases of AI over time consistently into the enterprise vertical. I love it. I think, and they also just signed a deal with Google to get access to TPUs and train on TPUs. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did see that.
And they reckon they're going to use 1 gigawatt of power and 1 million TPUs in 2026. And like 1 gigawatt of power is like, is that like a small city? Just one company. Yeah. Anyway. You haven't tried this Claude Code on the web yet?
I have. I've been using it all week.
Oh, really? Tell me more. What are your thoughts? Do you want to show it off? Well, you're not really ready for that. It's more
yeah, we didn't have that on the list, but I think that's, to me, that's the most exciting thing that's happened. I would say the number one thing is being able to, we've talked about how useful it is to be able to do things on your mobile device. And that was missing. I think it was last week I was talking about doing some workarounds, like from my phone, doing the @Claude and adding comments, and then it triggering that GitHub action for Claude. Now that did work, but now you can actually just run the session from your phone, just like Codex.
Perfect. So it's like idiots like me could do it.
I mean, Tom, you do a lot. So when you,
you're so nice.
When you say that
you say that sort of stuff.
Not technical, you're just a liar, but whatever.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. What else? Like, yeah. Or is it basically just like it's bringing it up to parity? Like it's not doing anything different to Codex. Like, what's the?
Yeah, I don't think it's really any different than Codex. I can't think of. It's kind of a mirror. So you can go in and, you know what? With Codex, I've always loaded up a project and started it in Codex. I don't know if you can. I think because you know how you have to set up the project as an environment.
Yeah, you have to set up the environment. Although I've always used the default one and let it just install the packages it needs.
But say you created a brand new repository, can you just start working on it in Codex? Because I feel like there's a little bit of setup you have to do on your computer first, and maybe
No, I don't think so. Or at least it hasn't been for me. But I always use pretty predictable stuff. Like it's usually a Next.js kind of app. It's not particularly kind of crazy. And then it's got a node server on it on the default thing. And you can just say, like, you've got the settings. So when you go through Codex anyway, like you've got like the environment, which is the container or the virtual computer. And then it lists all of the things it can access and install, right? Node, blah, 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 on and on, the list it goes. And the versioning, and then you can define access rights to the internet. It's like no access. So if you just want it to be like a computer, completely contained, isolated, or just to be able to install other packages and also like a list, basically a preset list of things it can go and access, or you can just say access all, which is riskier, quote on riskier for them. And I always just turn that on and just get whatever the hell you need.
Yeah. Just
go for it. Cause it's usually just a container. It's a temporary thing anyway. It's on a branch. Like I don't really see the risk really. It's not even on my machine. It's on somewhere in the cloud. And that seems to always work, right?
Yeah. Well, I think most people do that. And it's funny when you see these apps that have been around for a long time and they still say, this is beta, this is an experiment. It's just kind of like a catch-all, like legal, just.
Well, mate, Figma's a fucking $40 billion something, or it's definitely going down. It's billions and billions of dollars, and their Vibe website tool still says CMS coming, and it still says it's in beta. I'm like, guys, I'm going to sell my shares if you don't sort your shit out. Like, they are not doing well in the AI kind of design engineer race. Been in beta for how many months? I rant against Figma over. All right. When can I see this DGX stuff?
Man, they really let you down. I can tell.
Yeah. I feel like I hate Figma now like you hate Vercel. Sorry, you don't hate. You have you have mixed feelings about Vercel. Whereas your one true love is definitely Cloudflare.
That's true. That's accurate. Tom, well, I don't know. On this DGX, I've set it up with RDP, and I'm having some issues with it. So,
well, just like talk me through. Like,
this is
pull it up, show off what the DGX is, or maybe even on the website, and then just talk me through what it is. Like, just real basic form. Like, you're definitely going to be using this for weeks and months, so there's going to be more shit coming down the pipe. I've never really owned like a proper hardcore computer other than when I was a bit younger and I was buying like PCs optimized for music production.
Well, this is it. Can you see? I see him on my phone.
No, I can just see your beautiful face.
I joined I see it on mine. Riverside.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can. On the back camera. Oh, yeah, I guess it's showing.
Okay, so you can see the DGX here. So, well, if you can, just perspective. You can also see I have a whammy pedal or crybaby wah-wah pedal as my support. So, it shows you how much I've been playing guitar lately. But anyways.
You're cool. You're so cool.
Yeah, for size comparison, I mean, you can see it's basically the size of a guitar pedal.
That is the most Austin thing I have ever heard / seen. Like, I'm a tech guy. I live in Austin, and I have a DGX supported by a wah-wah pedal. Fucking hell.
Yeah, this is for the mic stand. This is because I have it all extended out. But yeah, so yeah, and we can just pull it up on the website too. But on the back there, you can see there's a connector, so you can actually link two of these devices together. And I just got one. I don't know if I could justify two, but so with this one, I can at least run some of the larger models. I think up to 160B, if I remember right. But the biggest model I've been running is GPT OSS 120, and that is one that ever since it came out, I've been using the 120B model through like a Llama Turbo, Cloudflare, Grok, and I think it's actually pretty good. And then, like I mentioned, the OCR, I think it took about 13 hours is what it said to run the OCR data set.
That's the benchmark that we were looking at, the doc.
Correct. So it's like 1,600 images, and it went through. And here, I have the output. I'll just share my whole screen. So I just have two. I'll just show these two examples here. I pulled this random document, and the first one of them was run with just straight up OCR and CPU. So Tesseract has been around for a long time. I think it was Amazon. It's an Amazon thing. And then I just compared that to DeepSeek. And I'll put all these examples out there or do something that's a little bit better than this. But
you're saying this is great.
But on the surface here, I was like, I feel like the OCR Tesseract one is a little bit better.
Really? Okay.
Well, I'll make sure I'm comparing the right two. Sorry, Tom, I was messing around with the DGX thing. And
that's okay. While you're doing that, I'm just going to check in on my Google vibe coded app so we can come back to that in a moment.
Thought you were going to say your crypto wallet. Well, okay. So over here on the left is the DeepSeek OCR output. And on the right is just regular Tesseract. So you can see some differences just in the formatting, really. But
yeah,
there's some, I'm surprised, like the Tesseract one, you'll see at the very top, it provided the title,
Hmm.
or I assume that's the title that was at the like corner of the page, and the DeepSeek did not.
And these are
So
all just like individual pages with the components extracted, and each extraction component is like effectively like a test against certain types of documents. Hence why it's all kind of jumbled up, because it's like not a consistent thing. But so, for example, proof there, this one that says proof by proposition 8.42. That's consistent across both. But then the DeepSeek one's full of these like injected characters, right? New line stuff, like whatever those things are. But do they have a conversion format or something, or is that just like random?
Right, and that could be a parameter. I'm sure maybe there are parameters you set to adjust how, the output.
Because it looks like a table, right? So potentially it's just configured.
And that's the thing, is the data set they're all PNG files, so images, but typically like OCR you can use with PDFs as well, like you said at the beginning. So it would be interesting to run some more tests, but that's always been a particularly tough issue to solve, is like PDFs or tables that are images, either images embedded in a PDF or just images themselves. Very difficult for LLMs to process accurately. And so the funny thing to me is I heard about this earlier this week, and OCR and document understanding, document intelligence, it all kind of goes together. And it's something I've did quite a bit of work around like a year ago, and I didn't think too much of it, but now people are back to trying to solve that problem. And the DeepSeek one is particularly focused on, I guess, an experiment or methods for compressing context. So I was not thinking about it necessarily like that at that time.
Yeah. Well, that was a bit above my pay grade. I know that you've done a lot of work in it. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it. And then I subsequently saw like AI researchers comment on it saying, well, the model architecture of this OCR, even though it's small and applied to that, has an implication for how potentially AI models LLMs specifically, are built into the future, or how we might handle context because of the compression rate. It's something to do with like the performant nature of the loss is significantly better than previous models, which means you can basically take billions of, of these characters converted into image format and put them through a model like that. It's kind of like, which we haven't heard about for a while, kind of like, how diffusion LLMs were coming up and they were looking like they were going to be popular because it's like a completely different way of thinking about generating tokens. Sort of similar, basically. They were saying this is like a different paradigm and way to think about these things, which is always true. Like, as soon as engineers get onto the handle of a problem, like they generally like abstract away a bunch of this stuff, right? So what would people say? All right, Anthropic's buying, a gigawatt worth of, expects to use a gigawatt worth of power powering these million TPUs. There are constantly these innovations around the energy efficiency paradigm of these chips as well going down. So I think I saw a few different things on like GPU optimization in China around like power usage and stuff, where they're trying to experiment to make it more efficient. Like all of those things will come about, which is, I think that's an example of this. It's like, this is an example of that in practice, kind of like when we were stuck in my computer has 256 megabytes of RAM and and 512 megabytes of RAM came out, and you're like, holy shit, this is bigger than anything else I could ever conceive of in the history of computing. And it also cost $5,000.
Yeah.
It's like we're stuck in that phase.
Yeah. Well, this is particularly relevant. We were just talking about the browser plugins. So I know for like Claude for Chrome, it uses screenshots, and a lot of other applications and LLMs are using screenshots. And I guess that's just still a big question for everybody, is that where does that make sense to use like an OCR type of deal, and how does that save context? How do you be more efficient? I was trying to find, I just remembered the files are not actually out there. I was going to run a comparison with Claude browser, but anyways.
So what are your thoughts on the DGX so far? Using it? Was it a good idea?
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah, like I said, so far I've just been using it for inference, running models locally. I ran this OCR, but what I'm really excited to try out is more fine tuning type of things. Ideally, I've always had this idea of a continuous pipeline for fine tuning. So I hope to try that out sometime. But
what does that mean?
Like if you had, I guess you could consider it like reinforcement learning, maybe like a continuous pipeline of reviewing traces, creating an additional metadata, and then essentially automated fine tune on the back end. I don't know exactly. Yeah, like I guess a lot you hear of larger companies doing things like that, but I'm curious how you could do that. In this instance, it'd be more like a personal use case. But just think if I were able to fine tune a model with like every day or every week or every month of that fine information that's most relevant to me. And I think something like that, when people talk about AGI, you're gonna have to have some sort of a continuous pipeline like that.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that to understand. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my camera. So reinforcement learning, right, is over the top, effectively customization of base models, right? Which is what we see large companies doing when they take human feedback from the outputs of models. So that's called reinforcement learning with human feedback, right? And then there's a question around how that data is used to deliver that fine-tuned outcome. In one way, it's like part of it is just going into the engineering toolkit around the product in the form of like a better evaluation set, right? So it goes into like a loop of optimization in the back end using tools like, say, Langsmith, right? And that's not fine-tuning. That's basically optimization. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also goes into the pipe of saying, all right, well, I'm going to evaluate a different model. For example, you might switch from GPT-5 to Gemini 3 when it comes out, and you use that optimization set, an eval set, to optimize potentially to a better, more satisfying user outcome for different use cases. And then you're saying what you actually want to do is say, I have very specific document, for example, document OCR tasks that are consistently coming through a pipeline, and I want to reinforcement or fine tune via several epochs consistently over time. Every time I get a better evaluation set or some sort of better feedback loop on that specific task. Every time I've read about that, they basically say that there is a very rapid kind of diminishing returns point that you reach, right, over a set amount of time as you optimize into a specific use case. And generally what I've read about is that those things occur to get like a cost efficiency gain, right? So you can optimize or fine tune, say, the GPT-5 open source model that you can run locally. If you've got a narrow band use case, often you can get, a dramatic drop in cost. But generally, I haven't heard it used to get a better outcome than the foundation models. It's generally a cost conversation. I don't know if that's something you've thought of, like how you're thinking about it, whether it's like you want to test it on something that's you're expecting you can get like a better outcome. I don't know. I want to dive into that stuff more, but do you want to do more DGX stuff, or do you want me to show you a couple of these demos that I've spun up?
Yeah, let's jump to your demos. Like I said, the DGX is super cool, but as far as show and tell, it's a little box.
What are you saying?
Chain it together.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll share my screen.
Continuation later.
I'll share my screen, and then maybe we can dovetail this into the follow-up conversation about the universe, the agent universe stuff. So what I wanted to show you is this very briefly. So this is the app that pumped out of Google's Vibe coding app. I just had to enable it with an API key from Google Cloud, but actually this is really cool because it's very well integrated into cloud. So I could just automatically pull in my projects and stuff. So I think this is nice because it's integrated. It's kind of like a V0 experience, right? Directly into Google Cloud, which is rad. This is the output. So what I wanted was an app that would generate an animated video from images using Google Maps data, and then I can go image to video, or I can go location promo. So generate a location promo using VO3. And the code is, I didn't define anything. It is a TypeScript. What is this? It's a React app. What's the backend framework? Nothing. Gemini server. Yeah, okay. So that's pretty simple. It's a cool little UI, right? For the IDE. Nothing fancy, but seems
Do they
pretty
have
useful.
do they have any integrations built in? Like, I guess, would you say that Google Drive that's for like storage maybe, but
let's have a look. So can I add services, advanced settings? No. I could choose the system instruction template. Default configuration assumes React and TypeScript. Let's have a look and see. It doesn't look like it.
at the top there was
Git
a
integration.
tool. What was that tool button?
Yeah.
Scroll back up.
Download app. There's GitHub. Keys, share, deploy it to Google Cloud, Code Assistant. At the start, you could enable it with certain skills, I guess they were saying, but those are just like almost like prompt enhancements, I'd say. And if I go back to here, are any of those enabled with specific features like a database or something else? Doesn't look like it. Maybe those things are coming.
Yeah, it just made me they have so many products that, once you can start adding integrations and building things on top of each other, that'll get crazy.
Yeah, hopefully. Like, whenever I see these guys like this try and integrate those, they do it in a very light way. Like if you use Lovable or something, like it's very light. So if I say speech, hopefully that finds it. See if it gets that information. And then I can kick off my promo video, hopefully. What I don't have is here we go. Location insights, sources from Google Maps. This is the grounding thing. And then generate my promo reel. All right. That might be a few minutes. While that's happening, switch over to this. So I wanted to give you a demo of Open Agent from Firecrawl because last week we spoke about this agent universe project, which is basically like a way for us to try and think about ways to apply agents to certain workflows in different business types. Maybe we can revisit it once we've done a bit more work on it. The reason why I wanted to show you this and get it up and running is because these guys, Firecrawl, they often build out just like sample apps to enable like use cases on their actual scraping, kind of LLM-powered scraping toolkit. The reason why this is cool is because it sort of takes in the OpenAI kind of agent builder kind of workflow UI process, but actually executes in the back end using LangGraph. So I found it through the LangChain kind of X account. This is the tech stack. So there's Firecrawl, obviously Next.js, and then LangGraph as the orchestration engine, state management, and then Convex, which was really cool. I've never used Convex before. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Basically like backend as TypeScript code. It's like a managed cloud hosted kind of thing where you just define all of your backend as TypeScript and then it's just abstracted away into the cloud. It's good for guys like me. I can see you like smirking, just going, ugh.
No, I was actually thinking about the code mode. I think we talked last week. It's like an abstraction for MCP. So
right. Clerk is authentication. Clerk is a delightful thing to set up. Like if you haven't set that up for an app before, it's just like so easy. It's really good. And then E2B, I set up and added that as well for the sandbox code execution. I haven't tested that yet, but it's a super simple demo, and I recommend like just giving it a crack. It's a lot of fun. Basically, here's the code, and then I'll show you the local version that's running. Maybe let's check in on VO3 and see what's going down. Oh, here we
I
go.
would imagine the LangChain agent builder that it hasn't come out yet, but it's on waitlist. I would imagine that is going to be very similar, right?
I'd say so, yeah. Can you see this? That is cool. So that is a really cool app that we just made just really, really quickly. So with this, it's sort of like a combination of like what Google is very good at, like maps and then VO3. That's really cool. It's just a promo video automatically generated for a location. 8 seconds, sick music, and you wouldn't be able to hear the music. I'll put it in the edit. It's like Venice Beach promo. That's cool. I want to try another location now. It's a more esoteric location, maybe.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
This is where I used to live. This is a beach where I used to surf a lot in Australia. Let's see what it knows about that. Something that is not as famous as Venice Beach. That is really sick, though. That was a lot of fun. Hopefully I can get that little promo video back. All right, here we go. Yeah, not bad. That's actually pretty good. And then I want to see what it's like. All right, well, that's generating. Let's go back over to this. So this is actually what the app looks like. This is going to be a very incoherent demo for everyone. So this is what the app looks like. It's actually really cool as soon as you kind of log in, and this is the local version. You authenticate with, with Clerk, works great. Start building. And then they've got these templates built in here, or you can do your own one, build your own one. So it's pretty simple. Similar to a lot of the, agents that I've seen you build over time, Cameron, except it's powered by this. It's primarily this point-to-point kind of workflow toolkit, and you can customize the agent on the right-hand side, enter your instructions, all this sort of stuff. Apparently, this demo is only set up to use MCP tools with Claude. So if you want to use MCP servers, you have to use Claude as the base model. Otherwise, you can use Grok. Those bits and pieces. And then let's see what other tools. Yeah. I wonder if there's a base range of tools that they've also got.
I wonder if that's changed, because now you can run ChatGPT in dev mode, and you don't have to use OpenAI's special configuration for your MCP servers if it's running in dev mode. So I wonder if maybe you could make that work.
Yeah, sorry, my Sawtail Beach promo video was playing in the background and I couldn't hear you, but I might hand this over to you. You're my MCP expert. But they've configured this so that I've got local keys running in the background, but also users can add their own keys for these things. So I'm not exactly sure about the MCP side of it. But it looks very similar to, how the OpenAI one sort of put together, right? And you can add some user approval, go and get user approval, else get me that, if, etc., etc. See what, cool. If condition score is greater than 70, example, blah, blah, blah. And then you can pull in nodes from, different data from here to create different condition sets, etc., which is cool. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. And then in the actual code, I wanted to sort of just pull that up and show how it works a bit, but we can go back and actually just use one of the demo ones, right? Stock report. What do I want to do? Start, input, ticker. Cool. This is always a standard one. The standard one is always NVIDIA. Research the stock, give me all these standards, write the report. You can pull in the output from previous areas and then, make the output. This is pretty cool. Like, I like it. It's just sort of, very basic. I've seen a few of these, and this is like probably one of the ones that was easier to set up for me anyway. And then let's see if I can run it in the background, preview the workflow, starts the workflow. Look at this nice sort of focus point around like the progress states, what it's doing, all this sort of stuff. Like, I love that these tools are now kind of approaching free, because in my kind of professional life, like I've spent a lot of money over the years on different workflow tools, right? For marketing and sales and customer success and support and all sorts of random stuff, right? That's always very consumer, or prosumer heavy. I just love that they're kind of approaching zero cost, N8N and all those guys.
For personal use, yes. But then that's where not so free once you get into the enterprise use cases.
Not so free. Yeah, well, anything in the enterprise is not so free.
Yeah.
Cool. And they've even built in like a draft version, a production version, and a versioning. So you can actually publish, save the workflow, save it as a template, just your endpoints. Like it's pretty comprehensive for like just a dummy app or a dummy or a demo app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to talk about it specifically because we were specifically discussing this last week on the show to talk about like the architecture, because I wanted to, basically this was the architecture I was kind of imagining, where we've got like some sort of workflow builder on the front end for the universe kind of experience, where the user defines some sort of architecture or layout connected to different toolkits or tools, and a data schema that would then need to be generated on the fly to enable it to work with the agents. Then that gets passed into some sort of LangGraph execution framework in the backend. But I wasn't exactly sure how to build that out, how to think about the architecture. So that's why I was interested in playing with it. And this is the actual backend is here. So I had Claude running and helping me set it up. You run two. So these are the README. You can just run through this. Pretty simple to follow. All you have to do is set up convex, and all of those, setting services I was talking about before. Add your details into your local .env file, and then run a convex backend and the Node.js frontend, which is what we were playing with just before. This is the app that we're playing with, and you basically execute and create different workflows. Here, that's the API route, and the API route and the actual workflows here. So workflow ID is just a relatively simple page that executes there. And then this, effectively all of these like points for the actual execution components. Here are the templates. You can kind of like see how they've put together the different templates and kind of play with that. I found it very educational, I guess, when I was thinking about it, trying to build that thing. Cool. And then the last thing I just wanted to talk through, which I'd never really seen before, is this convex kind of, the way convex actually kind of like effectively manages everything behind the scenes, just as effectively as little files. I don't know. I thought it was really cool, and I never really played with a template app like this. So like managing your schema, all the tables just as kind of like code. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like simple migrations, just with, like migration scripts, I guess. But you can just add it and edit seemingly like live, and then it will just update the schema here. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. Kind of like GraphQL, I guess, which I never really used very much. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think that approach is like totally the future. I think everything will be built out that way, essentially.
Yeah. I don't know much about it, like, or if there are competitor ones. Not exactly sure. Like this is the actual interface, which is pretty, pretty nice. Basically just, it's like, managing tables, schemas as TypeScript kind of just files, rendering it out and then updating in real time in the cloud environment. Pretty bonkers, actually. It's a different way of thinking about it. So also I've started saying bonkers a lot. I don't know. I think I have to change. I think I sound like a 5-year-old boy. It's all bonkers, man. But I'll put this workflow builder up on the build. Or you might have to help me with that on the build. Demo is like maybe next to vibe dot, what is it? Demos.build from the vault. If you go to our website, you should be able to get there. Play around with it. Like it's kind of cool. And then the next phase would be, all right, like how is this different to the LangChain one? Could I just use the LangChain one? Is the LangChain one available? I'm assuming, because these guys work pretty closely with LangChain, I'm assuming that they're probably sharing insights with each other when they build these kind of little demo or dummy apps. The thing I didn't demo here, which I want to, is this E2B, like sandbox as code within this workflow, which will be a lot of fun. The last thing I'll just check in on is my Sawtell beach promo. You want to see it?
Is that
basically just
actually the beat?
No, there's just like extreme Australian kind of like Australian tourism ad kind of vibe to it. It's very fun.
Right.
What I was hoping for is that it would take the actual photo. Like to be fair, that photo there looks a little bit similar to how that area of Australia looks, but it also looks very similar to like a lot of other parts of Australia. So the grounding is correct. Like these are all the places specifically around that beach. They're all very similar.
It's kind of still looked like Bondi Beach to me, but
that is definitely not
Bondi. Well, just like, I don't know, just not necessarily the geography, but something like just the landscape, I guess.
That's actually this is what VO is really great at. Is like, this is what you imagine something looks like, not what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. I don't know. Yeah, they seem to execute this vibe coding thing from Google seems to execute pretty well. So